Hi there, YouTube, Facebook, and fellow friends and followers. Today I'm going to do a really quick video to help my friend Warren with costuming class. I'm going to show you how to hand stitch on snaps, which are these lovely little things right here. And we're also going to sew a hook and an eye, if you can see those. So, first things first, whenever it comes to hand sewing, you're going to need your needles, which needles come in different sizes, alright? So you need to find one that fits comfortably in your hand. They have really short, small needles for more detailed work and for smaller hands, as compared to a longer, thicker needle. You can see the difference, possibly. Here, let's try this. But yeah, so I'm not going to use this smaller needle because it's too thin for now. Instead, we're going to use our thicker, more sturdy needle. Something you need to be aware of whenever you hand sew is that your needle can bend, especially these thin needles. They can really bend because your body heat will actually, and the pressure that you're putting on them, can actually possibly bend them. So you need to be careful because you don't want to bend your sewing needle. Alright, so I've just got a scrap piece of fabric here today that I'll be using, and actually I'm going to cut it smaller, that way it can, you'll see things a little better. We're going to start with the eye of our hook and our eye. So you see those two holes that are on either side of it? That's where you want to be sewing. So usually what I do, depending on your fabric, is you're going to put your eye on the fabric like so, and you're going to take your sewing needle and you want to start from the back, that way your knot can go ahead and pull through. See, there's my knot, there's my front with my hook and my eye, and I've just gone through that hole there, if you can see that. Alright, so now what I'm going to do, that we're here, if I can find my screen, there we are, is I'm just going to dig into the fabric in the front, see, just a little bit away from the eye, and I'm just going to pull through like so. So I get a nice little view right there without being too far away. And you're just going to repeat that a few times. But what I like to do is, after at least one or two, I like to tie a knot with my thread. So I just take my thread, it should look like this, the needle is halfway through the fabric, and I just loop part of it over the needle, and if I pull it through, you get a knot. And what I like to do is I like to do a knot at least 3 times in a row, just so that I make sure that it's nice and sturdy, because the last thing you want is for the thread to accidentally tear, and then your hook or eye or whatever you've sewn, a button maybe, or a seam, to just fall apart because you didn't put enough knots in it. So you're just going to do a couple of those. And I'm still on the front of the fabric, I'm just sewing through. The main part is you want your knot to be in the back. Everything else you can do from the front pretty much, at least from the way that I've taught myself to sew. So after you feel pretty good about that side, what I like to do, if you can see this, I like to take my needle and go right through the center of that hole that I've been sewing around. I like to go through it just as one last little time to give it a little bit more thread to hold it down. Okay, so we've only done one of the circles so far. So now on the back, you're gonna go through the back again to where you come up the middle of your second circle. There we are. See, we're coming through the middle of our second circle. So you're just going to come through, and you're going to repeat the same process. So you're going to just hook just a little bit, just barely away from your little loop, and you're going to come up. So you get a nice clean seam like that. And you're just going to once again continue your sewing, where you'll make your knot, and you'll repeat the knots a couple of times just to make sure that's nice and sturdy. In all honesty, with hooks and eyes, it's actually a really good idea, in my opinion, to just do all knots. Don't do a single like stitch without a knot. I like lots of knots around it so that I know it's going to be nice and sturdy, and it's not going to come off no matter how many times I unhook or rehook it, or how much pressure's on it. Because it's got all those knots, it should last as long as I need it to. And actually, the only way I can usually get my own hooks and eyes off of things is to use this lovely little tool right here, which I actually hate. It's called a ripper. My work, you have to use a ripper in order to get a hook and eye off of my stuff, which was very painful because I could not find my hooks and eyes, so I actually had to use the ripper off of one of my outfits that I've made. So I'll actually be ripping this later to reattach it. So now what you do, now that you've got your clean eye, you know, it's all nice and pretty, it's not super far away. It's a little messy because we put a lot of knots in that left side of this side over here. Now that you've got nice and clean and tight, and it should stay, you'll just cut off the extra thread so it looks nice and clean and pretty. So I'm just going to retie a knot now in the end of my thread. A good rule of thumb for thread that I've learned is, instead of just putting it as one string through, what you actually want to do, if you can see this right there, you want it to actually be 2 threads. It's a single thread, but you just let it go all the way through, and you pull it through and then knot it. And if you want, I can show you how to do that later. But now we're moving on to our lovely hook part of this. And I apologize if you don't like my description. I've never made a how-to video before, so I'm just doing the best I can for a friend in this, for instance. So then, as far as your hook goes, there's actually several ways that you can do this. It depends on who you're making the outfit for, or what kind of outfit you're making. In one instance, you can actually, here's our fabric, you can actually sew it on the same side with the eye. You can sew it like that, or depending on your outfit, you might actually want to sew it on the opposite side of the fabric so that there is no eye there. That's the inside of our fabric. The eye's not there. The eye's on this side. I'm just gonna sew it on the same side as the eye, just because this is a tutorial. And so you're going to start again like you did with the eye. You're going to go on the back of the fabric, and you're going to want to just put your needle through one of the silver circles, and you're just going to come up. So it looks like that. And then you're going to start putting your knots. Oops, my thread came all the way through the fabric. One thing you do want to make sure is you want your hook and your eye to be able to line up. You want them to be in as straight of a line as possible, or else it's going to be really weird when your actor or yourself or whoever's wearing whatever you're making, it'll be really awkward for them to try to hook it if they're not exactly across from each other. Like me, I did a really bad job of it. They're not actually directly across from each other. The hook is actually a little bit away from it. So you're going to do that until it feels nice and sturdy, and it should look somewhat like that. Once again, we've only done one side. And once again, you're going to want to go through the middle of the circle and come out your back side again. Okay? And then you're going to want to go through the second circle. You want to come straight through. See that middle circle, how I'm coming through it? Yeah, that's what you want to do. You're going to pull your needle through. And then, once again, you'll do your lovely knots to make sure that it's in place. So, you'll do a few of those. Just to make sure that it's nice and tight and secure. And I'm doing it kind of fast, so I'm not really putting as many as I usually would, or taking my time to make sure that they're perfect. Whenever you hand sew something and you want it to last, you want to take a little bit of time with it. You want to make sure it's nice and clean, because if you do a rush job, people are going to know you did a rush job. And once you're done, you're just going to cut off the end again. So now our hook is attached. It's got some leeway so it can actually move away from the fabric. If whoever your teacher is tells you that you should sew it down, do so. I like to have a little bit of freedom where my hooks are concerned. So then you go and you hook your garment or necklace or whatever, and voila, it's hooked. They're hooked. We can actually go the other way so you can see it better. They are now hook and eye. They are hooked. That's not going to open no matter how much I pull at it. And there you go. So that is the tutorial on how to do a hook and an eye. I hope it was helpful. If you have more comments, message me or put a comment on the video and I will try to explain as best as I can. I hope this was informative and helpful. So happy hand sewing. Bye.